Donald Triplett, the man known as Case One when he was a boy, had an enormous influence on the treatment and study of autism. He passed away last week at the age of 89. Triplett was born in rural Mississippi in 1933, but didn't develop the same way other kids around his age did. Journalists Caren, Zucker, and Donvan produced a documentary about Triplett's life. Let's listen.
They call him Don, but I first knew him as Donald. Donald T. That's how his name appeared over 70 years ago. It was in the first medical article that fully described a new diagnosis in children that we call autism.
Caren Zucker and Donvan both join me now for more. John, tell us about Donald.
Donald was one of a kind, which is something that must be said about everybody who's on the autism spectrum, often pigeonholed, but everybody's different. And the saying goes, when you met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. But Donald was the first person diagnosed. A very sweet guy, our friend. He trusted us early on when we showed up in his life in 2007, saying we wanted to tell his story. He doesn't talk a lot. He's not a great interviewer in the sense that he's not real fluent about his thoughts. So we talked with other people in his community. They told us what Don was like. And what they said to a person was, he's just a great guy. He's different. He's got his differences, but he's our guy. And they stand up for it in everything. In everything, all of his life. And they say it's not anything special about us. It's something just about him that we like him.
And Caren, take us back, remind us or tell us how children like Donald were treated when he was a boy.
Well, Donald, in fact, was treated like most children originally. His parents had done what all or many parents and families did in the 30s and 40s when they had a child that was a little bit different. They were told to put them away and forget that they ever had them and move on with their lives. And Marion Beeman Triplett did that for a very, very short period. And then they sort of looked at one another, we believe, and said, we're just not going to do that. We're gonna take him home and we're going to help him have a life. And he had an extraordinary life. He became part of a community that treated him just like everybody else, which is what we really hope for everyone who is a little bit different.
And John, in your reporting, you talk about the community response being such a crucial part of the support for Donald.
Yeah, it's our view that people on the spectrum, their shot at being able to belong in the way that we all want to belong, by which I mean have friends, be invited to stuff, be part of the joke, go to the dance, have friends, have kids show up at your birthday party, that all of that depends on everybody else around them, accepting them and rolling with their differences and not shunning them, not abusing them, not mocking them, not separating from them because of that. And what Donald's community showed, and we're not entirely sure exactly why it worked there, but they showed that it's not that hard to have the back of somebody who's different. And what we often say, whatever happened in that town of Forest, Mississippi, we wish we could bottle it and send it out to all of the other communities in the world that could still do a lot better by the autistic people in their populations.
Well, that's right. I mean, we are all now in the community in part because of Donald's story and the studies of it. So, Caren, how has society's perception of people with autism evolved since Donald was a kid?
Well, I think in 1,000 different ways, and it continues to evolve. When autism was first diagnosed, we really saw people as very, very different in terms of the spectrum than we do today. Today, the spectrum is so broad that you can have someone who is unable to speak or lead an independent life and have very profound autism, and someone on the spectrum who can go to MIT and just have social and communication issues. And so the pendulum has swung really the other way so that more people know about people who are out there communicating, who are part of society day in and day out. But there was also a large spectrum of people who aren't out there and who their families are still caring for from the original diagnosis.
Caren Zucker and Donvan, co-directors of In a Different Key. Thank you, and thank you for your work.